Hi, my name is Mateo Messina. I can't read music, but I think I can write a symphony using your software. If I put presented by you guys on my tickets, because I'm booked in the symphony hall in a few months, would you give me your software? And they were like, sure. And I was like, oh, that was too easy. So I researched and found the best company I could in the US, which is back in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I gave them the same story, and they, 2 days later, had their software on my doorstep, and they sponsored me for about 7 years. And so then I started writing this symphony. So I would play my piano songs in about these different emotions. And then I went to write the instruments of the orchestra to go on to it. And then I realized I never studied anything about the orchestra, so I didn't even know what the instruments of the orchestra were. So I went down to the UW bookstore in Seattle, and I found a book on the orchestra for kids, which is perfect. And I opened it up, and on it, it would show like the trumpet. It would be a picture of a trumpet, and then below the trumpet, it would shade in the range of the trumpet on a piano. And I was like, this is great. So I took a piece of tape and put it across the bottom of my piano, and I wrote trumpet, trumpet. And then I went cello, cello, viola, viola, violin, violin, all the instruments. And so I had little marks of where I could play. And then I would just listen to my piano song, and I would play along with it. And I had no clue what I was doing. I was failing upward every day. I kind of thought, well, this must be a cello, maybe. And these are probably like around the viola, and these must be violins up here. And I went through this whole process and ended up, a couple months later, had this body of work. I went out and recruited a bunch of university students and above to come play. I said, I'll pay each $100 to come in and play this concert with me. And they were all really excited because it was a brand new symphony hall. I eventually got us all down there that night. We sold about 350 seats of the 550-seat hall. And I think a lot of it's just like people wanted to see, because I was drumming in these other bands, and they're like, well, what's Messina doing, at symphony? So we got people down there, and I remember just before walking on stage thinking, what did I do? And I thought, well, let's just do this. And I remember going out thinking, you know what? I don't want to just say, here's art, appreciate it or don't appreciate it. I thought, I'm going to get people involved in this. So have you guys ever opened up a CD and you wanted to read like lyrics or something, but you catch yourself reading the liner notes and who they thanked, and you kind of get more into it? I think people want to know more about the music. So my idea was to talk to the audience about each piece. So like First Love is a good example. I walked out to the edge of the stage and I go, do you remember your first love? And I remember a few people kind of laughed. And then I go, what was their name? And then it was great, because like the entire crowd rolled their eyes and started laughing, because everybody's thinking, oh, her, oh, him, that sort of thing. And then I said, do you remember that feeling, though, when you were so excited and you felt almost euphoric? You didn't know there was any harsh side to this. You mentioned that person's name in conversation a lot. You laughed more, and I get everybody excited about this, and I go, that's what this next piece is about. Then I would go sit down at the piano, nod to my conductor, and for the next 7 minutes, we're playing this really sentimental piece. Now, I wrote it from my experience, but everybody there is sitting there living it through their experience, just human empathy. So I did this for 9 different emotions. We finished the concert, and that was a Saturday night. By Monday night, we sold out for my next Saturday night's concert, and that was the start of my career as a symphony composer. And from there, I was asked to do a short film, and then somebody said, and I thought, wow, this is really interesting. So I ended up deciding to move down here, but I was always going to do my concerts up there, because what happened in that year, right when I did that concert, was very sadly a friend of mine, a new friend, I didn't know him, he was much older than me, but his daughter had passed away from a brain tumor. And he said, they have a piano at Children's Hospital in the playroom. And he didn't say go there or anything, he just told me about it. That was all he did. He just placed it within me. And so I went down there, and I sat down and started playing piano one day. And then I don't look too intimidating, I don't think. So kids, I invite them to come sit down at the bench with me. And a lot of times I'll play like, is this thing on? Holding a mic, and I just said, is this thing on? So I go like, and I have a kid just going up here. I put their hands on C an octave apart. Well, if I play that thing below and they play that thing above, it sounds like together we're making this huge body of music. And we have so much fun, and we forget about cancer for a couple hours, and we write songs about dogs and farts and bees, anything, whatever comes to their mind, whatever makes us giggle for a couple hours. And so I decided right then, I got so hooked, like really hooked in, because I meet some kids that aren't going to make it, and I meet other kids that it's just maybe their little brother or their big brother might be ill. But there are these families that are going through this, and none of us really knows the impact of it until we experience it ourselves or are related to someone that does. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to make it my mission now that these concerts, because I made like a few grand off that first concert, and I was like, I think I should use that and use my talent to raise money for these families here. Because there are families, there's a fund at the Children's Hospital in Seattle that's called Uncompensated Care, and it allows any family that comes to the door, they admit that child, whether they have insurance or not. And you'd be surprised how many don't. And a sick kid's a sick kid, so you're going to do anything. So basically, I've made it my mission to raise money for those families. And my concert, which started off with 350 people in an audience and me being scared out of my mind, has grown and grown. And after about 5 years, I moved it into the big 2,500 seat hall. And now for the last 6-7 years, I've been doing these for 11 years now, we now raise, the last two concerts we raised $150,000 and $175,000 in one night. And I have a team of about 50 people in Seattle, just a little bit over. And one thing that's so great that I've learned along the way is that I really credit my parents. I adore those kids. They're great. My father said something to me about my 5th year into doing these, and it's because I dream up weird, crazy, fun ideas. 2 years ago, I hid the entire orchestra with a giant screen, and you couldn't see them, and then I lit them from the back, so all of a sudden the conductor was about 30 feet tall, and I do all these ideas, and I remember talking to my pops one night, telling him one of my ideas, and he goes, you still don't know what you can't do. And I remember thinking hey, I know what I can do and can't do, and then I realized later that was a great compliment, because I don't think any of us should know what we can or what we can't do. I think we should just assume we can do everything, or do anything, and then there's no limits. And then my mom said something to me always growing up, which is invest in people, and that has stuck with me through all these years and through this journey as well, because what I did is I found people that were interested in raising money for the hospital as well, and it started off with 3 of us, then 5, and now, like I said, there's over 50 of us. And I invest in those people, and they've invested in me, and it's become something and we invest in all those families at the hospital. And I found, she always said, things aren't important, people are important. And those have really stuck with me. So if I can impart anything upon you before I go here, it's probably 3 things. It's basically, 1, through this journey, I found that I don't know what I can't do, and I really don't want to know what I can't do. I just want to keep assuming I'll do it all. I get calls from different filmmakers all the time, and they'll ask me to write a story. That I just got a call the other day about they're remaking The Karate Kid, and they want to, with Will Smith is remaking it with his son as Danielson and Jackie Chan as Miyagi-san, which is all sorts of a bad idea, but at the same time, they're like, well, how would you do this? And I just was with a string orchestra yesterday in the studio, putting out my ideas for it, and helping them come to a place with music for it, things like that. Investing in people, what my mom taught my brothers and I. Take the time to sit down with friends. Take the time to meet somebody new. It's always going to be more important than anything, any car, any game, any of those types of things. Because my investment in people, I've discovered, has served me as a great wealth. And lastly, fail. Go out and fail. I remember being so scared of failing before, but I realized I wouldn't have a career unless I have failed an insurmountable amount of times. I've failed on films, I've failed on concerts, I've failed in all sorts of things, and I'm still here. And I get to do this job that I think is ridiculous and fun, and on the other side, I have this purpose in my life. We make it our purpose to raise money for families that need help when they're going into the hospital. So That's all I wanted to impart with you today. I really am grateful to you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Cheers.